Hello, and welcome to By the Way with Beth and Stacey. I am Beth Cooper.
And I am Stacey Earlywine. And boy, did it get hot?
Yeah. So last week we talked about, it was starting to feel a little bit like an early fall, which I totally, was quite sure that it would get hot again. It always does.
Well, yeah.
And it doesn't really ever seem to cool off for good until the end of October. I think September is hotter than August.
I think, you know what, we agree on that too, because I think sometimes September is just the hottest.
It didn't used to be like that though. When I was
a
kid, August was the hottest month, and then September started to cool off. But I think that's all changed.
Oh, I think I absolutely agree. September is really hot, and I don't think people should close. If you have a pool, you shouldn't close it.
Right,
like
you
a lot of
always
people
say that.
I do say that. I'm just going to give you a little hint here on pool, because I've had a pool for several years, right?
Yes.
And think about it just for a second. If you close it Labor Day weekend, it's in the 90s. I don't care how many chemicals you throw in that thing. When you cover that sucker up, you're just covering up 90-degree water, and then you're putting a tarp over it or whatever, pool covering, and then it's just baking.
Yeah.
So everybody that opens up there, and then when you wait and open it up like in May when it's starting to get hot again, you're just, I don't know.
Yeah,
I think it does something.
So Stacey closes her pool when it's cold.
Yeah.
And she opens her pool when it's cold.
We open that.
Her water is the clearest, most beautiful water every single year.
And I don't do anything to it.
And she does nothing to it. All she does is open it when it's cold and closes it when it's cold.
Yep. Jim will usually close it like the 1st of November, when it's freezing cold, and it's opened in March. And it's prettier. Yeah, don't close your pools, and don't let the pool people tell you need to.
Yeah.
Don't close your pools yet.
No offense to the pool people that are watching this, but they have an agenda to sell you more chemicals.
Yeah,
just saying.
Just saying. But no, but yeah, it's just hot. And it's just, what's so weird, okay, so, it's like last night, it's like the outside of my windows were just sweating. I was like, when I went to bed last night, I looked out, our back door is solid glass, and it was just like.
My kitchen window was doing that, and I don't remember ever doing that before.
Me either.
I was like, what's happening?
I don't know either, but
the
it's
humidity
crazy.
out there is about 250%, I'm quite sure. It is insane.
And I don't think it let up, the humidity last night.
I don't think so either.
I went out, I had to get something out of my car or whatever, and I went out. There's a difference between, you walk out of the house and then to the sunroom, and then between the sunroom and then the garage, there's another, 10 degrees difference.
Sure.
And it was just like, yeah, it was close.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not a fan of that. And then school started. My sweet angel baby Jack Earlywine started pre-K today.
Aww.
Got the cutest little.
I bet he was excited.
Oh, he was so excited. I had him and I had Roz Daniels yesterday, and they're best friends.
And they're both going to pre-K.
And they're both going to pre-K.
Are they in the same class?
They are not in the same class, and that's probably a good thing.
Oh, okay.
Because they're like best friends, and they just played so well together. And we were yesterday. It was super hot, so we were in the pool yesterday, and they were just like splashing around. And they're like, "So tomorrow, what are you wearing tomorrow?" and Roz was like, "I'm gonna wear purple and pink," and Jack was like, "I'm gonna wear orange and blue." They're going to Florida. I mean, it was just the funniest. And then this morning he had his little backpack on.
Oh,
he looked so
precious.
big. But Joanna's probably loving life right now.
Yeah, little sister's going to be there without big brother. But honestly, pre-K, it lasts 2 hours. I don't know if
you'd think the way I'm acting, he's going to war.
I don't know if Paige is taking him and dropping off. But when you do that with a pre-K student, it's like you feel like you just dropped them off. You have time to go Dairy Queen, get you a Coke, run to Walmart and pick up your groceries for the week, and then oh golly, I'm going to be late, and then you got to run back and get them. It goes that fast. They're not there very long.
It does go it goes fast. Yeah, we'll pick him up on Mondays, and but fun. Yeah, it brings back all these memories. I remember, taking Mac, to pre-K, and then Connor, and they just seemed so little. Yeah, at first I was like, I was going to be Mac, I was going to let Mac was like, I want to ride the bus. I'm like, okay. But they didn't have the little bus for the little bitty kids.
So you had to throw them in there with the big kids.
Oh, my gosh. And so, Mac was one of the first ones on. And I'll never forget, the bus driver pulled up, and he walked in, and he barely could make it up those big old stairs. And he waved, and he turned around, and he was, in the window, and and when he sat down, he disappeared. And I was like,
oh.
He is too little. No.
Yeah. Yeah, where did he go?
He was too little, so then they drove around and I picked him up at Mary's, the babysitter, that day, and he was like, "Mommy, I don't want to ride that bus no more." And there was way too many kids. I'm like, "You're never riding the bus." I always took my kids to school.
Yeah.
Now they did have to ride the bus to Mary's. You know, I picked them up I didn't work on Monday, so I would pick them up on Monday. But till they went to like high school, I always drove them to school, and then I just head off to the shop or whatever. But did you make your kids? Were you the mean mom? Did you make them ride the bus, or did you?
No, my kids never rode the bus. But to be fair, they only went to Malia, the oldest, only went to public school for a couple years, and then I homeschooled the rest of the time. So
that's right. Yeah.
So we didn't have a lot of memories like that. But no, and now they're all in school, and I take them, drop them off.
I always liked it. But, you know, there's always, and I don't ever remember, of course, whenever Mac and Connor were going to school, there wasn't one elementary school. So there wasn't the bus drop-off drama. We didn't have any of that because I dropped them off. They went to kindergarten at Washington. Washington was open back up. They went to for McKendree. Mac actually went to Xenia for 4th grade because that was when they were busing them back and forth, and then they both went to Lincoln. So we didn't have the bus drop-off drama. Because I hear it's quite interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. Right now my dilemma is I have one at the junior high in Flora and one at the high school. They both want to arrive at school at the exact same time, and they both need to be picked up at the exact same time. And you would be surprised how long it takes to drive from Floyd Henson Junior High to Flora High School at 3:12, 3:15 in the afternoon. It can sometimes take me like close to 10 minutes.
Yeah, because 500 the traffic's terrible.
Yes, it is a little insane. And so anyway, I've recruited some help, and my mom has volunteered to help me out on some days at pickup and drop off because, you know.
Well, it is funny because like we live in a town of less than 5,000 people. It's like traffic was so bad. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah. Oh, my boss for my Nancy's Notions job, he lives in Canada, and I think he probably lives in a city. And he one time said to me, I was talking about the traffic at 3:00, and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, because had an online meeting or something. I'm like, I was rushing to get back to the meeting because I just had to pick my kids up from school, and the traffic was terrible. And he started laughing at me. He's like, You live in a tiny town. How do you have that much traffic? I'm like, well, at 3:00, the factories get out, and all the schools are out. And it's just like suddenly you went from downtown with like hardly any cars in it to just like everybody's there at the same time.
Did I ever tell you the story about when my mom and dad had an exchange student from Italy? Okay, so talking about traffic, this is funny. This story's hysterical. So my mom and dad had his name was Stefano Musata, and he was here in 91, right? He loved it so much that he ended up like staying for 2 more years and went to OCC.
Oh, wow. He reminds me of Days of Our Lives. Wasn't there a Stefano on Days?
Stefano, I think so.
Okay,
yeah.
Go ahead.
And anyway, so he stayed with my mom and dad, and then he was going to go ahead and live with them for 2 more years. So he stayed for 3 years total. Then he was going to go to OCC.
Wow, they must have really liked it.
Oh, they love Stefano. We've actually all went over to travel. And when my dad died, he jumped on a plane and came and stayed with my mom for 2 weeks after Dad passed away. They were very close. His parents and brothers and sisters all came over. And so anyway. My dad, I explained to people, my dad, if you wrapped up Fred Flintstone and Ralph Cramden into one person, you'd have Bill Hemphill.
Okay.
That's just who my dad was. Big old funny, blowhard. And so anyway, so we got him a car. He got his driver's license because he was driving, right? I'll never forget. I was over at Dad's house, and he's from Milan, Italy, where there was like 5 million people.
Okay.
In the city. Okay. So Dad's like, now I'm going to tell you something. My dad used his hands a lot. Now I'm telling you, that traffic downtown gets a little crazy. And Stefano was like, Bill, I'm from Milan, Italy. I don't care where you're from. I'm telling you, downtown at 3:00, between 3 and 3:30, the traffic is insane. And of course, Stefano was like, okay, Bill. He's like, you've got 2 stoplights. And my dad was like, I don't care what. But it was just so funny. He's like, I'm telling you, it's crazy.
And the first time he drove in that, he was probably like, okay. I see what he's talking about.
Well, in Italy, they just take off on the sidewalks.
Oh, yeah. That's how it is in Panama, too. I spent a summer in Panama with the exchange student that had lived with us in high school, and I went down there and stayed with her for the summer. And, they just, if there's a car stop, they just go around them into the grass, or maybe they go into the median. Like,
it's insane.
You just drive wherever. There are no rules of the road.
Triple, park it. When Jim and I went over to Milan and stayed with Stefano with his grandma, she lived in a flat in downtown Milan. Fantastic.
Oh, wow.
Gosh, just fantastic. And anyway, I was looking at him like, so the cars are this big.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so Stefano, how's that? He's like, oh, they'll just wiggle the, and they're just like bang, bang, bang. Every car is just, because this slide was just like, you just watch you pull up, hit this car, pull up, hit, and he just wiggled his way. But he was triple parked.
Yeah.
And there's a sidewalk in the middle of the road. And my God, you want to talk about taking your life in your own hands whenever you get in the car with Stefano. Oh, my gosh.
Oh.
Woo, we doggies, because they're just honk, honk, screaming at each other.
Oh, yeah. That sounds a lot like Panama. That was how it was
great.
there, too. Yeah.
It was great. Okay, we're going to get to our...
Do we have an ad?
We do, and these ads are interesting because they're actually from newspaper clippings, from newspaper articles and stuff that we've got. And they're actually...
So they're local.
They're local ads. How fun. Okay, Ty, go ahead and throw that picture up here. Our dish sale. This is from Friends Variety.
Okay,
look at the little girl eating it. The biggest dish value in years. We have just received a big shipment of cups and saucers. Does anybody even use cups and saucers anymore?
That would be a negative.
Plates,
I actually
plates.
Occasionally use a saucer, but not for the purpose that it is intended.
Right. Yeah, we use paper plates. But look at all these to sell at 10 cents each. Don't wait. Friends Variety.
Yeah. So I think next week or the next week we're going to talk about the house where the Friend family lives.
Yes, it's going to be awesome.
This was maybe one of their stores.
They had a store in town. Cups and saucers, plates, soup plates. So is that what you put your bowl on so you don't burn your hands?
Yep.
Bowls, bakers, platters, and desserts. Could you imagine if you were feeding a family of 5 and everybody ate on all that stuff, how many dishes you'd have?
You'd have a lot of dishes.
Yeah, 10 cents each.
I bet my mom wishes she could go back in time and go to that sale. She loves dishes.
I love dishes,
I bet they
too.
were beautiful.
I love them at auctions.
Does that say Xenia at the bottom? And someone's handwriting almost, it looks like it said.
It does say Xenia.
Do you think this store was in Xenia? Because I thought the Friends store was in Flora.
I don't know. Maybe they had more than one, but it does say Xenia. Yeah, this is from Rena. This is Rena Thomas's stuff. So that's her handwriting. It does say Xenia at the bottom. Man, you've got eagle eyes.
Oh, yeah. Just call me Eagle Eyes from now on.
You do. It's like I'm sitting here looking at it from here. But yeah, so Friends, so that's going to be exciting. We'll do we'll do a little bit. Because I think we've talked about the Friend family.
Just a little bit. Yeah, we talked about them. We talked about Mr. Friend because he was one of the...
Mr. Friend.
Well, I don't remember.
Let's take a commercial break and we'll be right back.
At your locally owned Napa Auto Parts stores in Flora and Louisville, you can count on experts to have the solutions to keep you running on the road or in the field. More than just your car, the Napa Auto Parts stores in Flora and Louisville carry a large inventory of Napa products for farms, heavy trucks, and just about everything that moves. Experienced associates understand your needs and are ready to help with the perfect part at a great value. That's Napa Know-How at your locally owned Napa Auto Parts stores in Flora and Louisville. Briscoe Surplus Sales on the northeast edge of Flora is your one-stop do-it-all shop. Looking for rugged boots and footwear from great brands like Lacrosse, Rocky, and Carolina? They're there. How about top-notch small engine parts and service? Briscoe Surplus Sales has it. Whether you're wiring your switches or switching your wiring, Briscoe Surplus Sales has the solution and the know-how to help you get the job done right the first time. Briscoe Surplus Sales, your one-stop do-it-all shop.
We like technology at Flora Savings Bank. Here's what you can accomplish in our mobile banking app in less than 30 seconds. See account balances in your transactions, set up an account alert, make a transfer between accounts, get an alert text message about your transfer, pay a bill, turn your debit card off and then back on. It all happens in the palm of your hand with our free My Bank to Go app. Search My Bank to Go in the App Store or Google Play and give mobile banking a try. Flora Savings Bank, member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Jimmy ordered lumber. Doors, paint, windows, electrical, plumbing, and much more. Oh, yeah. Give me all your guns, too.
John Lucas.
What?
You better be dreaming about all the stuff we sell here at Zink Building Center.
Oh, I would. Zink Building Center in Louisville on Route 45. It's a cool place.
And welcome back to By the Way with Beth and Stacey. I'm Beth Cooper.
I am Stacey Earlywine.
And today we have a fun show planned.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people might remember
I'm hoping,
what we're going to talk about a little bit.
We are going to talk about a very interesting gentleman who lived in Clay County, but he did a lot of traveling. Mm-hmm. We're going to talk a little bit about the Goat Man. It just sounds
the Goat Man.
The Goat Man.
Yeah, so the kids asked me, what are you talking about this week on your show? And I'm like, we're talking about the Goat Man. And they were like, really? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, do you know about the Goat Man? And one of them was like, well, like a fabled character, right? That's like half human, half goat. That's not the Goat Man we're discussing
I didn't
today.
even think about that.
I do not know what that. I said, actually, no, that's not the Goat Man we're talking about. We're talking about another Goat Man.
I didn't even associate that.
No, but I thought that was interesting. Okay, so just in case you're wondering,
yeah, because the Goat Man,
which Goat Man we're talking about, it's not that one.
It's not Satan. No. Actually, this man's name was Charles Ches McCartney, a.k.a. the Goat Man.
Okay.
The Goat Man was born near Iowa around 1900, okay, where he became how do you say this word, itinerant traveler. Reportedly, so he had it when he was in his 30s. He was born in the 1900s in Iowa, and he lost his farm during the Depression in 1930. So he lost his farm during the Depression, and of course, the Depression was rough on everybody.
Right.
And so it was said that he all he was left with was his goats. So
that's
he
sad.
It is. So
how many goats did he have?
Well, he had between 12 and 14 goats.
Okay.
So here it is. It's the 1930s. You got a farm. You're probably doing well. The Depression comes in. You lose everything. And it literally says all that, and right now we'll call him Charlie. Okay. All that Charlie had was a dozen goats and his Bible. This man was incredibly religious. Mm-hmm. Okay? So he began to travel across the United States. So this, and this happened for like 4 decades. So for like 40 years, this gentleman with his wife and his son herded up these goats and they traveled. He actually constructed a box-like wagon, and it was very unique in style, and it was pulled by his goats.
Okay. I'm going to let you tell this story, but I have so many questions.
Okay. Do you want
okay. The wife, was she already married to him when he had the farm? So it's not like she was, like he was a single man traveling with goats and she's like, hey. No, it wasn't like that.
No.
Okay.
And she traveled with him for a while.
It's probably a really good thing that he was already married before he went broke.
Yeah, because Goat Man would have been single and wouldn't have had a son.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it's really crazy. Actually, we've got a picture. Can you pull the picture up with when he traveled through Florida on his cart with his goats? And he just was there. Look at all of his little goats. So you can you can see all the little goats in the front. I mean,
it's a lot of goats, and it's a little unclear, but are there also goats on top of the?
There are goats everywhere. There are goats behind. There are goats in front. There are goats, and he just kind of collected things. People took care of him along his way.
Okay, so his box trailer thing is more like a train.
It looks like.
This is like a.
It's an RV.
This is an RV. Don't fall in love with her, Clark. I plan on taking her with me when I leave next month.
Yeah, right here you got yourself is what they call an RV. Yeah, it's so funny because this was hard. So he came in 1957.
Really okay.
In 57 he came in.
Okay, to Florida. He moved here in 57.
He didn't move. He just hung out.
Oh, okay.
He was kind of like a traveling gypsy goat man.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
The gypsy goat man.
The gypsy goat man, yeah.
Okay, so it's almost like the size of a semi-truck.
It's
but
huge.
It's just full of his stuff and lots of goats.
And lots of goats because they slept in there.
I wonder how his son felt growing up in that lifestyle. Like, I guess that's all he knew. But I'm sure they passed through towns and, were envious of the people that maybe just had permanent lives. And
I don't know. This is what he did till now. Later on in the story, the wife does for a while, but then she's like, hey, I'm going back to Iowa.
I'm going to just keep quoting Christmas Vacation. You know that
it's going to have to be.
You know that scene where the little girl is talking in the kitchen, and she's like, I love it here. Your house never moves, and what did she say? Something about and you never have to go outside to go to the bathroom.
Exactly.
And I just feel like that little boy. Yeah. I don't know. It's a little sad, but keep going. Tell the story.
So he constructed the box-like wagon, which was very unique in style, pulled by 12 goats. His wagon.
The goats pulled it.
The goats pulled the wagon.
Okay, well that's clever.
Yeah, the goats pulled the wagon.
It's just not something you see every day.
Yeah, it's really not. That's why I find this story fascinating.
Okay, keep going.
Because when you think of pulling animals, you think of goats.
Nope.
And it looked like, on that picture, it looked like the big goats were hanging out in the back and the little goats
were taking a break.
They were taking a break. It said the wagon was not equipped for speed.
Okay.
Nope. But he also aptly put it one time, this is a quote from the Goat Man. If you have no definite place to go and no specific time to be there, speed ceases to be an important factor.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, where's he going? No, where's he going?
But he probably had to keep moving or they would shoo him off of the land, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he just kept moving.
Yeah, they just literally just loaded up and went. Here's another thing he said. This is quite interesting. He had running water when it rained and heat in the summer and no utilities to worry about.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said about not having to pay taxes, real estate taxes, not having to pay, utility bills. I mean, but still, what a life.
Well, I think it'd be a little bit tough. I mean, I don't know. We're not done with his story yet. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. So he traveled with his son. His son's name was Albert Jean in the early years, and they relied on hawking of novelty items and handouts for their livelihood.
Okay, so they were a lot like the Gypsies, which we can talk a little bit about them. They would come through usually every spring and camp out at Charlie Brown Park or different places around Clay County.
So he was basically a goat gypsy.
A goat gypsy.
I love that term now. And if you're looking for any ideas for some new tattoos, goat gypsy.
Yeah, or if you need to name your band, goat gypsy.
I was going to put a band together.
Were you really?
I just
named it for you.
You did. And you'll get royalties from that.
Oh, good. I've been waiting on that. And then another thing, like goat gypsy, like it just sounds. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. It's kind of a neat little saying.
Yeah, it is. Like, well, you know that commercial where you, where those ladies are like, "You lint liquor."
Oh my gosh.
That?
I love
because they're like
isn't it a chewing gum commercial?
Yeah, they're like telling each other off, but they're doing it nicely instead of using bad words. They're like, "You lint liquor." Well, you'd be like, "You goat gypsy." But here's the thing about the word gypsy is that, and if I didn't know this, and probably most of you didn't know this, and we could get in trouble for even saying the word gypsy these days because it's not politically correct.
Gypsy's not?
No, it is not. And
it's one of my favorite words. I love it.
I love the song Gypsies,
Tramps and Thieves. I was born in a wagon of a traveling show. Heck yeah, it's my favorite.
Yeah, well, okay, there is all know that I'm a quilter. There's a very famous quilt out there called the Gypsy Wife. It is a quilt pattern. It's beautiful. It's very difficult. It's one that I have thought about challenging myself with. But if you go to Pinterest and you type in the Gypsy Wife quilt, you get a message that tells me I should not be using that language and that I need to refine my search by using a different term because that one is not socially correct.
Well, what's wrong with the term gyp? Why is that?
Apparently it's offensive to people from Romania or wherever they originated from. But if anyone is watching the show, I'm not saying it in an offensive way. I don't mean it in an offensive way. It's just this. If you look in newspapers or whatever, this is what these people were called that travel through the area. I don't know what else to call them. And yes, we're laughing about goat gypsy, but I mean, there's not really a better term that we know of to describe them other than just traveling people.
Honestly,
and we don't mean it offensively.
Everybody that's offended by something, it doesn't even have anything to do with them.
Right.
Gypsies probably are like, yeah, I was a gypsy.
Yeah, they're probably proud of it.
It's just kind of like the Indians that are suing Washington because they want the Washington to be called Washington Redskins anymore because all these liberal white people are so upset.
Okay, don't go there.
Oh, sorry, I've got.
But just saying that we don't mean. But I didn't know that gypsy was an offensive word. But apparently, if you search it on Pinterest, you will get scolded.
Well, Pinterest probably liberal, so.
Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
I like the word. I'm going to keep using it.
I'm going to use it too. I don't see that anything's wrong with it.
We love it.
Okay.
Okay, where am I at now? Okay, so get this.
His son.
Yes.
Where he left off.
So, they had novelty items and handouts for their livelihood. The goat man always told those he met that he didn't have to beg or steal as the Lord would provide. He was a very godly man.
Yes, he was. He had a lot of faith.
The goat man had a lot of faith because, like I said, all he was left with. And I think
God did take care of him through all of this.
Oh, he totally did.
I mean, like this guy, he did fine in this lifestyle. They always had what they needed.
His wife was responsible for his clothing as well as that of their son. Now, this is where I get a little bit confused. She sewed the goat skin clothing for the two as an attraction-getting gimmick, but did not dress that way herself.
Smart woman.
Yeah, so she's like me and you. She's probably just like,
She's like, you two, I'll dress you up in this goat skin. You can walk around, get money, look like the part. Like, we need the money and be a little bit of a gimmick and talk about how we're the goat family. But I'm going to stand back here in my nicer dress and just collect.
Right. It said this clothing not only gained attention, which is what the purpose. So they're smart people.
Yeah, they're smart. They knew how to work it.
But also provided an avenue for income by selling postcards of his family dressed in the unique style.
Ah.
Aha.
You know, this is the thing. This is why I love America. Because there's a lot of reasons I love America. But, like, just the fact that they, even though they were so down on their luck when all of this started, they were still resourceful and figured out how to make money off of their situation.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's these people were... Yeah, so it's like, okay, so what are we going to do here? We got all these goats. We got this crazy wagon. Let's go pull them. Let's dress you up. You're going to play a part. You're going to go through there. You're going to just read. You probably read Bible verses to people. And yeah. But let's take a quick commercial break, and we'll come back with more of The Goat Man.
If you're looking for a loan for your brand new home, call Clay County State Bank. If you want to transfer money so your future will look sunny, call Clay County State Bank.
We got checking and savings and bill pay too.
An online banking, just ask our crew. For all your banking needs, we think you will agree.
Clay County State Bank is the place you need to be.
Clay County State Bank.
At Clay City Banking Company, we're all on the same team, regardless of zip code. At home, work, school, or across the country, you can be part of our team with our cutting-edge mobile banking products. From your hand, you can check balances, transfer money, make deposits, and pay bills. Looking for a loan? We've got you covered with our mortgage, agriculture, commercial, and consumer loans. Join our team today. Clay City, Flora, Louisville, and Fairfield Banking Companies. We're the hometown banks, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
It's the weekend, and your symptoms are worsening. The morning of a big meeting, and you have a bigger sore throat. Ever experienced that urgency after picking up your sick child and your community health center has already closed? You will be able to connect to a provider at crhpc.org. Even if you have never been to CRHPC, you are welcome to utilize our services. Feel better after scheduling a video visit with CRHPC.
Tomorrow. Some fear the uncertainty it brings. Some trust the promise it holds. At Grinnell Mutual, we are always looking forward to tomorrow, growing and innovating. So even if the plans you have for the future aren't the same as the plans that the future holds for you, you can be ready. Because we'll be ready, like we have been for over 100 years. Trust in that. Trust in tomorrow. Talk to your mutual agent today.
Your local agent is on the square. Louisville, Clay County Farmers Mutual Insurance.
And welcome back to By the Way with Beth and Stacey. We are discussing the goat man, also the goat gypsy, we like to call him, traveling man with a lot of goats.
Well, there's another picture, Ty. I don't know how many pictures I sent of him, but let's show a picture. Look at him. The goat man with one of his goats.
Oh, man, that's a big goat, too. That's like a big old billy goat, I think.
Well, yeah, and he's not a, look at his arms.
Yeah,
this man
strong.
is not a small gentleman.
Which I'm sure it was hard work. I mean.
Can you imagine?
Okay, so yes, we've talked about how he had to feed his own family or whatever, but if he had that many goats, that is a lot of goat feed.
Well, don't goats just eat cans and grass?
I think that they do, but what about
They'd
in the
have to
winter?
have something else, yeah.
What about in the winter? Did they really? I mean, that's a and if you don't own the land, who's going to let you just have 50 goats out there grazing?
Yeah,
but they didn't always have lawn. I mean, people didn't mow their lawns as much, so maybe they were happy.
Well, they didn't have lawnmower. Yeah, they would.
Yeah, I think they did.
They
though,
just
in
had
the
those
50s.
little clicky ones.
But it would have been nice, like. If your yard was getting overgrown, be like, hey, goat man, stop by my yard and let him eat my yard.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's just a lot of goats to take care of.
Like I said, the goat man is, his name's Charlie. And, he's not a small man.
What was his last name again?
Let me look real quick. McCartney. Charlie McCartney.
Okay. All right, so keep going.
Okay, so eventually the goat man's wife got tired of all the traveling. And the nomadic existence.
Okay.
And so she eventually returned back to Iowa with their son.
Okay.
So after a while, I mean, it doesn't say, it just says she got tired of all the traveling.
Do you think she went and lived with family then if they didn't own a house?
I would imagine so.
But he didn't want to go with them.
Her story ends there.
So that he would rather be separated from his wife and only child than to give up his goat nomadic life.
It said Mr. McCartney continued his travels on his own. Yep.
That's sad.
Yeah, so they just went back. He must have, she didn't like that lifestyle, so they must have, at least she took the son.
Yeah. Okay, keep going.
A local man was asked if he had ever heard of the goat man, and indeed he had. He remembered Mr. McCartney and his family stopping at the foot of the overhead at the east of Flora.
Okay.
During that time, there was a farm market and perhaps another business in that area, and many travelers patronized the place, an ideal place for the McCartney family and his goats to receive food and shelter.
So down there by the La Fuente Mexican.
Yep, right there at the east end,
he
right
would
at the bottom.
hang out there. Okay.
Yeah, because there was a farmer's market there and other businesses, and so that must have been a hub. Well, then you would have had, the East End Cafe and all that would have been there at that time. Because we're talking, I mean, we're not, this is like all this started in, he was here in Florida in 37.
Okay, and then he was here in the 50s too. So
yeah,
but he didn't stay here year round.
No,
he just traveled through once or twice a year.
Yeah. Yeah. Most everyone who remembered the goat man also recalled the family's main source of food was goat's milk. Can you imagine? The main source of food for that family was goat's milk.
The main source.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it if that's what you drink, but
yeah. Interesting. A Louisville man recalled the goat man being in the Red Brush Church area. But I'm not sure where Red Brush. I mean, it's not the Red Brush where Red Brush is at now.
Oh,
where was Red Brush at?
It was
before?
there. They had an older building that was there before they built this building. It was a big white, like traditional church looking building. They replaced it in the 90s.
You know, whenever
it was the 90s.
Which way do you? I mean, it makes you wonder. Like when you're traveling like that, which road do you take? I mean, do you just go? When you come to a crossroad, which way do you go?
In the summer, you go north, and in the winter, you go south.
Yeah?
I don't know.
But it does make you wonder how he got here from Iowa, because this all started in Iowa.
Right.
But that would have been, because when we talk about the Vincennes, St. Louis Vincennes, all the time.
He probably just headed south. He probably wanted to go away from the snow and the ice or whatever was up there, and thought I'll just head south. And maybe he went further south than here in like Kentucky and Tennessee for part of the year, and then went back north when it got hot down there. I don't know.
Huh. Crazy. A Clay City lady recalled having seen him when she was just a child in the early 40s in the area of where Duff's Farm in Clay City's at.
Okay.
So he was like Flora, Clay City, Louisville. So he was all over Clay County.
Right. Which it probably took him days just to move through our county.
Can you imagine? Because those goats aren't like runners. It ain't like you got a stagecoach. My goodness, think about that.
That's really slow traveling.
You know, he would have definitely abided by the speed limit.
And I don't know that you can train a goat like you could a horse to where they're like, you go and they just go. Like, I feel like goats would get a little distracted. And they'd be like, okay, pull this little wagon thing. And then, gonna stop and munch, gonna go walk over here and go pee, gonna do this and that.
Like me when I travel.
Yeah,
pretty
much. A little distracted. Like goats seem to have a little bit of ADHD. I don't know. I don't have goats.
What if they were fainters?
Yeah, those little fainting goats.
I love fainting goats.
Here's a story about goats.
I love goats.
A lot of people have goats, and they're probably going to think this is funny.
I love goats. They're my favorite.
And I think it was Malia, but it could have been Carissa. One time there was a petting zoo at Orchlands, right after Orchlands opened. And my girls were little, and we thought it would be fun to go look at these animals. Well, my kid, we don't live on a farm. And so they had this goat that they put up into a milking pen or something, and they were getting ready to milk that goat, and one of my kids kind of passed out. They were mortified, and my kids just get real faint easy.
Yeah,
and I don't remember which one it was. I think it was Malia, but it might have been Carissa. And they were like, and you could just they just turned white as a sheet, and their eyes rolled back in their head, and I'm like, we're going to the car and get her, and whoop, and then she didn't really fall over, but it was like it was happening, because that just totally rocked her world. Like, what are they doing to this goat? This is the most disgusting thing she'd ever seen in her life.
That's hysterical.
True story.
True story. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised, but yeah, that's funny. But I love goats. I love fainting goats. There's nothing cuter.
They're cute.
Oh my gosh. They're so cute. Of course, a fainting goat would never. It'd just be fainted all the time at my house, as loud as we are. But I always told Jim, I said, oh my gosh, Jim, I want one of them little miniature goats. I'd love to have a little miniature goat. And he said, yeah, you'll think that's fun till you come downstairs and it's on top of, jumping up from mantle to mantle on your fireplace.
Yeah, or eating all your flowers outside. You would be so mad.
Oh, yeah. You
don't need a goat.
I don't need a goat.
You need to go visit a goat every now and then. That's all you need to do.
I need to tell
There's lots of people in Clay County with goats.
I know it. And they're so
cute. Just set a day to go have a visit.
I will. I'll have to find me a goat. Charles McCartney, a.k.a. the Goat Man, was very fond of reading his Bible. According to legend, and most anyone who knew him, said he never harmed or wronged anybody. Simply a man taking advantage of what he felt was the only resource available to him. He was even, listen to this, he was even said to have helped start several churches along his travels. He and his goats strove to eke out a meager existence in the only manner he knew.
That's
so
sweet.
I mean, yeah. So he was a really good-hearted man. I wonder if this was
it sounds like it, except for that part about his not going with his wife and kid. Like,
right? Maybe he
it was
had
her
that.
fault.
Well, because if you look back at biblical times. When men, when the disciples left to follow Jesus,
maybe he felt like that was his mission.
Maybe that's what he felt like he was called to do.
Maybe
who knows what and if he did start churches along the way, maybe
maybe that was his mission build, and he didn't want to.
Yeah, because like I said, when the disciples left, they left children, wives, and children behind.
Sure.
To go follow Jesus. Maybe he just felt that was his path.
Yeah.
Most of his travels across the country were from the early 1930s through the late 1960s. That would be cool to see where else he landed. Yeah, I wonder what other places, how many other little towns have stories on the Goat Man.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Maybe we could Google that.
I don't know.
We could Google
I
that.
bet a lot of the other towns in our viewing area probably have stories on him. Fairfield, Salem.
I bet they do.
Grayville, all around.
I bet they do.
Yeah.
There was an extraordinary as well as a pretty amazing slant to his tale. Okay. In pursuing the internet, a story was found in regard to the Goat Man, which stated that he lived to be well past 100 years old.
So all that goat milk kept him
Maybe
alive.
there is something to this goat milk. Maybe the key to longevity.
Wow. Which he probably did eat healthy for the most part. Cause,
he probably walked.
Fast. Yeah.
He was active. He was active. Mm-hmm. A legendary character who brought many delightful times to a great number of people throughout the Midwest and Eastern United States. Yeah. I don't know. Did I send any more pictures? Just the two. I only have the two of Goat Man. You don't find anything. Did you? I see you're doing some fancy Googling back there.
He claimed that he visited all 48 lower states.
Oh, okay.
Including Alaska and Canada.
Okay.
Wow.
So he said that he traveled and through all 48 lower states and Alaska and Canada.
Wow.
So he really made it all over the place.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. No, and yeah.
That's pretty impressive to go that speed, that slow, all the way up to Alaska and back.
Yeah. What type of personality would that be? I mean,
it would be you just think of my personality and then you pick the opposite.
Right.
Because it's not my personality. I have no desire to do anything like that ever.
No, I don't do anything. I don't like anything strenuous.
No. Well,
I would be too scared.
Well, in today's world, yes. But back then it would have probably been okay. But, like, except for the bugs. I mean, I've talked about how much I hate ticks and stuff like that. And then he'd always have to be pulling ticks off of those animals.
Oh my gosh!
And
then
that alone, just stop right there. I'm out.
Yeah, and what would happen? The animals died along the way.
Oh yeah, and birthed.
So he would have had to. Yeah, he would have had to have had several births and deaths and buried. Wonder how many goats are buried all over all these? Because you're talking, he did it. He was born in 1900. He started this in the 30s. Mm-hmm. So he did it all the way through the late 60s. It said for 4 decades. So for 4 decades, you're going to have a lot of goats and a lot of deaths. And then what happened, when he got sick, people probably just took care of him.
Probably so.
Because it wasn't like when we talk about, like when gypsies travel in packs. Mm-hmm. They had packs. This was one, especially once his wife and son went back to Iowa.
He was all alone.
He was all alone.
Wow.
One man. By himself.
Just think of all the things he saw. Like all that wildlife he probably saw around him, and I don't know.
Yeah, very interesting. We're going to take another commercial break and come back with another very interesting story.
Do you bowl like this? That's great. Do you bowl like this? That's great too. That's because whether you're a pro or you just want to have a lot of fun, at Pegel's Silver Dollar Lanes, we have a lane for you. We have galaxy bowling, gaming for kids and adults, Joe's Pizza, a full bar, darts, pool, and fresh and clean bowling shoes. Boy, does that smell nice. So come on down to Pegel Silver Dollar Lanes in Effingham, where we have a lane for you.
My name is Robin Stanford. I own Stanford Marketing. It's a promotional products business along with an embroidery business. And we do custom hats, t-shirts, anything, you name it, we can make it. People like that we do stuff in-house and we can actually make things here and that we're not contracting to work out to other places. We never say no. We always try to find a way to do it. If anybody can do it, we can do it. We are hardworking women, that is for sure. Come to Stanford Marketing in Flora for all your custom and promotional needs.
The insurance specialists have options to tailor to your needs at CSI Insurance Brokers. Experienced insurance brokers at CSI are skilled with all types of insurance plans and policies and represent many companies, including Safeco Insurance. You'll benefit from their detailed expertise, unbeatable premiums, and commitment to customer service. CSI Insurance Brokers and Safeco Insurance Company, providing affordable rates on quality insurance since 1952.
For over 50 years, at your locally owned and operated Royal King Supply in Salem and Olney, we've helped you and your neighbors enjoy an easy country lifestyle. We carry the most thorough sporting goods department around with a huge variety of hunting and fishing gear, camping equipment, and a variety of firearms for any need. Our team is here to help you find whatever you need. Open every day, it's Rural King in Salem and Olney, your locally owned farm and home store.
And welcome back to By the Way with Beth and Stacey. We have been discussing the goat man, the traveling gypsy-like man that came through Flora through the 30s, 40s, 50s, and into the 60s, I believe.
Yep, and went to all, several states in the southern part of the country, and Alaska and Canada.
He was a busy guy. Now, when I was a kid, I don't remember the goat man at all, but when I was a kid, there was a lady, and we called her the goat lady. Now, I don't know if the whole town of Flora called her the goat lady or if that was just something that me and my cousins said, and that's what no one else called her. I have no idea. But do you remember on Worthy Street, kind of next to where, sort of across the corner from Rob and Todd, all of that used to be fenced in, and there were goats there, lots of goats. Mm-hmm. Kind of by Chuck and Nancy.
Yeah, I remember. Okay. I remember some. Yeah, I do. I vaguely. Okay. Yes, that's right. Right there on that corner.
It was like a meadow on that corner,
yes.
Right where you turned to do the 12th Street extension to go out to New 50, because back then Worthy Street didn't go all the way through.
I remember that lady.
So you would turn right there on 12th Street, and you could go right by her. And she had this little green house back there, not a greenhouse, but like her house was the color green, and it had that old type of siding on it, and it set back in there, and there were some trees, and it was just like this, the whole thing was like a meadow kind of, and she usually had it full of goats.
Yeah, I do remember that lady now.
So when I was little, this was in the 1980s, so when I was little, I would ask, let's go drive by the goat lady. I want to drive by the goat lady. And I apologize if she's still alive and does not like that term. I apologize. I don't know her real name, and I don't know anything at all about her, but it was thrilling for me as a child to go by there, and I loved seeing all the goats, and they were all different colors, and I would try to count them. But apparently my mother drove fast because...
What did they do?
But 6. I think there were 6 today, and then it was like, I think there was 15.
I do remember that lady with all the goats.
It was kind of cool because it was like right there on the edge of town. You felt like you were in town, but there were still livestock in town. It was kind of a weird, and she was surely grandfathered in, but actually that might have not been considered city limits at that point.
Is that that is city limits now, but I bet it wasn't, because that seems to be something that just keeps getting farther and farther, city limits. Mm-hmm. Huh. Yeah, I do remember that.
So anyway, if you would happen to know anything about that lady, you could always reach us at, email us at, By the Way with Beth and Stacey at gmail.com, or find us on Facebook at By the Way with Beth and Stacey.
Yeah.
So what else do you have?
Okay, well, I came across another interesting story. We're going to go from the goat man to county officials raid bootleggers.
Ooh, okay.
Bootleggers. Now, I'm reading this. This is a newspaper article from Tuesday, August 26, 1930. Okay, so it's a newspaper article.
Right.
Last Friday afternoon, several were arrested and jailed, later removed to the county Bastille. For safekeeping until trials could be held. Two plead guilty Monday. Last Friday afternoon, Sheriff Speaks and Deputy Sheriff Combrin, assisted by the city and other officers, including State's Attorney Clarence T. Smith, raided bootlegger suspects and rounded up a portion of those for whom the net was spread.
Ooh.
Dun, 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 dun. Two special investigators had been at work for several days securing evidence on which to secure convictions, purchasing booze from the sellers.
It was probably down there on Can Alley.
Can Alley. There were 2 bunches of raiding officers, one under the sheriff working in Flora and the other under Deputy Cambrin, operating over in Stamford and Clay City. So we're talking.
So it was a big area they were covering.
Yeah. It's crazy.
This was during Prohibition. So
Prohibition, yep,
the
1930.
Booze was outlawed, and those that were selling it are about to go to jail.
Yeah, you remember when we talked to Margie and Margaret about Can Alley, how cute they were? Talking about like everybody who had a basement had a what is it that I love? Oh shoot, Beth, where you have to open up the window and have a password.
A speakeasy.
A speakeasy.
Yes.
I'm the queen of the speakeasies. That's my goal in life, to have a speakeasy.
Okay.
In Flora, this is where it gets fun. In Flora, at the Clyde Hoskins home, Clyde had vanished. But Mrs. Hoskins was arrested, and 4 pints of booze were taken.
4 pints?
4 pints of booze were taken.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, so Clyde
is
vanished.
like this big.
Yeah.
So
Clyde, he skipped town and let his old lady get her.
He was probably hiding in the crawl space.
Poor Mrs. Hoskins.
He probably thought they would let her off easy.
Wasn't that the case? Haven't we covered other stories where it was
like,
the bank rob, or the embezzler, the bank embezzler.
Oh, right.
From Xenia.
Yeah, he left his wife.
He left his wife behind.
Mm-hmm.
At the Irving Stanley home, he was not in, but beer and mash were discovered.
Ooh. Mash?
Mash?
I think that's the stuff that when you're brewing.
Not that kind of mash?
No. I think that's like the stuff that you brew beer with.
Yeah, the hops. Would that be the hops? So they were even going after all that stuff. Wow, how interesting.
They had to prove that he was brewing it.
Wow, okay. So at the Irwin Stanley home, okay, so I'm going to repeat that. Irwin Stanley home, he was not in, but beer and mash were discovered. So guess what happened? Mrs. Stanley, she was arrested.
Oh, man, I'd be so mad at my husband if he was doing that and then I was the one that went to jail.
Yeah. And we have another poor little lady. Mrs. Albert Stanford was arrested at her home in West Flora and some more booze confiscated. Oh, this is killing me.
West Flora, so she was probably over there in Frog Island.
Frog Island, yeah. Just north of Flora, Jack and Virgil Hardy were arrested with empty beer cases but no booze. Well, yeah,
they drank it.
So they were arrested.
Or
wait a minute, that doesn't seem quite right. So they had the empty cases, but they didn't have any booze. But they got arrested. Mm-hmm. South of Flora, Mrs. Joe Hardy was arrested, but Joe was not home.
Meanwhile, all these men are out in the woods with their stills and brewing it, and their wife.
Like, seriously,
that is crazy. So keep going. I mean, did these women end up going to jail? Were they found guilty?
Mrs. Joe Hardy was arrested, but Joe was not home. So who told the guys that there had to have been an inside. I'm going conspiracy theorist here. I think these bootleggers just want to get rid of their wives.
I don't know if
because
that's the
why
case.
were they all gone, but the chicks were home?
I think they thought the police wouldn't take the chicks, is what I'm betting. I bet. But, so when we interviewed, if you go back and watch our other episode where we interviewed the 97-year-old twins, Margie and Margaret, they talked about this time in history, and they lived in Can Alley where a lot of the bootleggers were conducting business. But when I asked them, what about the police? If everybody in town knew that these were who the bootleggers were, why didn't the police do anything? And she said, the police were crooked. The police were crooked too, honey. Mm-hmm. The police were crooked too. Yeah. So these police that are arresting these women, what if they're crooked?
They probably.
What if they tipped off the men? It would be okay if one guy wasn't home and they arrested one woman. Fine, but since all of them are gone,
they're all gone.
This is a little fishy.
It is a little fishy.
I think they were tipped off.
I think they were because all the women. No man's been arrested yet in the story, and I'm almost done.
Okay, keep going.
Deputy Cambridge's crew at where am I? Deputy Cambridge crew at Clay City arrested Ezra Evans and Ben Payne, finally a dude, and found 45 bottles of beer at Evans's and 15 bottles at Payne's. There was a total of 7 arrested as follows. And then it talks about everybody we just talked about. Virgil and Jack were Mrs. Ezra Evans was arrested. I love this name. Mrs. Pansy Hoskins was arrested. Mrs. Albert Stanford was arrested. Mrs. Joe Hardy was arrested. So out of literally all those, only one man, and that was Ben Payne. But all the other ones were wives.
Huh.
They all plead guilty and were given 6 months at the penal farm.
Oh, my.
What was the penal farm?
That's like a labor farm.
Yeah, okay.
It's like prison.
Did we have that here? You're talking in Clay County.
I don't know that there was one in Clay County, but they shipped him off to one. I've read other articles where people were sent to the penal farm.
Mm-hmm.
The one man, there was an article, the one man, he was caught with a tiny, I think it was like enough liquor, it was like less than what a Dixie cup would hold, and he had to spend 6 months on the penal farm. Can you imagine? It was like he had a little bit of mouthwash, basically, and that's how long he went to jail.
Yeah, so all the women,
sad.
6 months were on the penal farm. Erwin Stanley, who escaped the Friday raid, was in court Monday, so he eventually did get caught. But get this, was on court Monday and was fined $200 and costs, which was pledged by a relative. Tuesday.
So he didn't have to go to the penal farm?
Nope.
Because he paid $200?
Yep. Tuesday afternoon, Mr. Albert Stanford was fined $100 and cost and was given 5 months in which to pay.
Meanwhile, his wife is on the penal farm for 6 months. I know. That is insanity. That makes me so mad. It makes me mad at the husbands, but it makes me mad at the court system.
Yeah.
Those women, I mean, I could be wrong, but
Well, shoot, Erwin got off easy because his family paid the $200, and then Albert Stanford was fined $100, but had 5 months to pay. Yeah.
Back then, women didn't have a say-so on what their husbands were really up to.
No,
so even if they knew that he was breaking the law, they couldn't really get out of that marriage or do anything to stop it.
Oh,
and then they go to prison.
Yeah, 1930.
Oh, my gosh. That's sad.
Isn't that the funniest story?
Funny, sad, infuriating.
Well, I kept reading. I'm like, wait a minute, Mrs. Oh, he just wasn't home. Yeah.
Ugh. Okay. Our shows are already almost over.
I know, it's crazy.
Let's end it with words of wisdom.
Okay.
What are they? Hit me with it.
La, 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 la. This is from Claude Bissell. Risk more than others think is safe. Care more than others think is wise. Dream more than others think is practical. Expect more than others think is possible.
Okay.
It's kind of I'm going to have to think about that one.
That's a lot.
Risk more than others think is safe.
Let's just do it one sentence. Let's just do the first sentence.
Yeah. Risk more than others think is safe.
Yeah.
So, like, you're taking that extra step.
I agree with that. Like, you do have to take some risks, but some people take too many, so I don't know.
Yeah. Expect more than others think is possible.
I like that part.
I like that one.
Part.
Yeah, the two. Yeah.
Expect more than others think is possible.
Well, and the other one, dream more than others think is practical. So it's basically what, here's their line, here's yours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Pretty neat.
It's different for everyone, but
yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
boy, that show went fast.
That did go fast.
Why
and that was a fun one.
So
I don't know, but we love what we do. We love talking about these things from history. If you have any show ideas, you could always reach out to us. If you have a question or comment, reach out to us. And as always, you can watch us on Channel 100, Wabash Catch TV at 11 a.m. daily. Or if you are not able to view us on Wabash, you can check us out on YouTube. Our YouTube channel is By the Way with Beth and Stacey.
All right.
Anyway,
fun.
Yeah, it was a great show. So thank you guys so much for joining us. Mm-hmm. And we will see you next time.
God bless you. Have a great day.